guys! So, welcome to day number 2 of my Inktober project. I hope you are all doing well. For those of you that saw yesterday's video, you will have seen that at the end of each video, I am pulling prompts out of a hat, and the prompt that I am going to be using for today's illustration is the word dress. Now, because this word is so vague, I went through a good handful of different sketches and thumbnails before I found one that I was ultimately happy with. A good handful of those concepts had to do with dress forms. It was the very first thing that came to mind when I saw the prompt. But the more I sort of worked that idea out and tried different interpretations of it, the more I decided that I wanted to stretch myself instead, and I decided to incorporate a character and a pose instead. I also added a bird to the shoulder of this character in order to kind of pull some themes that I was using in day 1 into day 2 and just generally make them feel more cohesive as a whole. When I posted this piece on Instagram, I talked briefly about art improvement and how it often helps to have a goal in mind when you're doing so. It's kind of hard to get to a destination if you don't know where you're going in the first place. And that is simply true in life with actual directions as well as in improving your skills. So kind of keeping this general idea in mind, during last year's Inktober, I focused very heavily on the idea of contrast, specifically in the realm of tonal values, or a bit of a translation where the lights in the pieces are and where the darks are. And for ink illustrations in the style that I'm doing them, this is very important. A lot of times when color is involved, it isn't quite as noticeable when the values are very similar. But when you're working completely in black and white, it tends to be pretty obvious because things will actually blend together because there is no difference in color. And because of that intense focus that I had on the idea of contrast during Inktober last year, I definitely improved my skills a lot more rapidly. Those are skills that I still use and continue to incorporate over and over again. Now, going into this year's Inktober, I didn't really have a particular idea in mind for what I wanted to improve on. However, upon the completion of this piece, I ended up finding a new direction for 2018, and that focus is going to be silhouettes. Now, this is an idea that I have briefly considered in the past. I've touched on it, but I've never really narrowed my attention in on it with a goal to ultimately improve. Now, a bit of an expansion on this idea for people who aren't quite sure what I'm talking about. When I was looking at this finished illustration, I noticed that the hair, the bird, and the tree in the background all kind of meshed together to create one area that has a little bit of a blobby effect. Ideally, if all of the elements were colored in completely black, leaving only the background as negative space, we should still be able to understand what is happening. In the long run, this just ultimately makes for stronger pieces. Now, the fact that this is not necessarily the case in this illustration doesn't make me dislike the piece, but I do think that it kind of brought my attention to it and gave me something to think about in the future. I don't personally think that being unhappy with a piece and thinking that piece can be stronger are the same thing. They are two very different concepts. I can be happy with a piece and still think that there are things that can be done better, and that is, in my opinion, the only way you can really improve. Because if you simply look at your work and you don't try to fix anything, you don't try to make anything better, then you're just going to stay in the same place. I think of this in the same way that I think of any other learned skill. For example, in math, if all you ever learned was addition, and you never tried anything else, you never tried to learn subtraction or multiplication or division or algebra, there's no way you're going to be able to figure those things out with only the skills of addition. And for me, it's the same way with my art. If I'm not trying new things and finding new directions to take it, I'm just going to stay in the same place with the same education that I currently have. However, with all that being said, I do like the piece. I think that it tells a story. It feels like there's more to it than meets the eye, which is something that I always aim to do with my work. Anyone who found me through any of my other areas on the internet titled World of Immensum will probably have heard me talk about this before. And I also like that I did some things with this piece that I might not have done last year. An example of one of those things might be the more intricate background. I don't always think to add landscape elements to my pieces, and that is actually something that I intend to talk about in tomorrow's video. Keeping on that topic, I do intend to continue stretching myself throughout the month, specifically in directions that I'm kind of uncomfortable with. As I sit here recording this audio, part 1 of my Inktober series is currently up, and this video is supposed to go up today. I actually meant to record the audio last night, but it started raining out of nowhere, thunder and all, so that was kind of out of the question. But ultimately, I think things are still going according to plan. I need to do a little bit of adjustment, but overall, I'm still hopeful for the month. Obviously, there's still a lot left to do. We have the majority of the month still in front of us, but I think I'm still riding a little bit off of the high of a new project, which is always nice. Before I head into the last part of this video, in which I pick the prompt for tomorrow, I forgot to mention that I am selling the originals of all of these Inktober pieces, as well as limited edition prints in my Etsy shop. There are only going to be 25 5x7 prints of each illustration, and once those are sold, I do not plan on re-releasing them or selling them again. So if there are any illustrations that you are particularly fond of, you might want to think about getting your prints or the original before they are gone. So I will be leaving links to all of that in the description of this video, and let's get on to the prompt for tomorrow. So here is the finished illustration for day 2 of Inktober using the prompt dress. And for the record, I think it looks very nice with day 1, and it will be interesting to see kind of a collection build up. That's one of the things I really liked about Inktober last year, and I'm looking forward to seeing it again this year. And now, without further ado, we have the prompt hat, and I'm going to pick out tomorrow's prompt. We'll do this one, and the prompt is crystals. I actually forgot about a lot of the prompts that I wrote down and put in this hat, and crystals is one of the ones that I forgot about, but I think I might be able to do something kind of interesting with it. So if you're interested in seeing that, be sure to check back for tomorrow's video. So thank you all so much for watching. Be sure to subscribe if you would like to continue following my Inktober journey, and I will see you guys tomorrow. Bye.